from the home of the three-piece combos, Pugilism Company. This is your boy Reed, BBS. BBS. Black Burt Sugar. Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. I'm not only that dude. I'm your dude. I'm that dude and your dude. Anyways, Vasyl Lomachenko unifying the lightweight throne. Vasyl Lomachenko unifying the lightweight throne. This weekend, Saturday, December 8th. It's not only the title of this podcast, at least verbally, it's also the title of the article that I wrote on the Pugilism Company website. Don't know if I've told y'all the web address, but it's PUGILISMCO.com. That's where you can check out articles. We have videos posted. We have special interest videos posted. Podcasts. We give it to you in all forms, man. Pugilism Company. Please continue to support us. We thank you for what you've done, and we're hopeful for what you will continue to do. But just getting back to business, this Saturday the 8th, the overly ambitious Vasyl Lomachenko, 11-1, 9 KOs, the WBA 135-pound champion. He's clashing with fellow southpaw and WBO belt holder Jose Pedraza, 25-1, 12 KOs. They're fighting in something called the Hulu Theater in Madison Square Garden. I'm a Midwest, born in the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri, moved to Dallas, Texas. Never been to New York, so with that, I've obviously never been to MSG. I'm familiar with the big room. I know where that's where the major fights happen. That's where the Knicks play, etc., etc. Know the small room. Seen many fights on TV in the small room. What the hell is the Hulu Theater or the Hulu room? And how many rooms are in MSG? Just while I'm at it. But anyway, getting back to business. Yeah, Vasyl Lomachenko faces Jose Pedraza in a unification fight. And I mentioned the overtly ambitious Lomachenko. It makes sense that as ambitious as he's been in his pro career, that his comeback fight, he's not going to take necessarily a tune-up, although some may say or think Pedraza's a tune-up. He really isn't. This is a unification fight. He's unifying in a comeback fight from an injury. Without stat cheating or looking it up, I'd be interested to know if this has ever happened in any other fighter. I would dare say it's unprecedented. Lomachenko, he'll be 31 in February. So that's the reason for this abbreviated course that he's taken to professional boxing greatness. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, all obviously. We all know that. By like his second fight as a pro, he was challenging for a world title. He unfortunately ran into Orlando Salido, very crafty, experienced, and even dirty pro who took advantage of Lomachenko's lack of experience in the no headgear wearing realm, and yeah, he beat him. Although Lomachenko was coming on strong at the end. Very next fight, Lomachenko, he fights Gary Russell Jr., who to this day is still a very good fighter, very talented fighter. Lomachenko, there was no dispute about that fight. Even Gary Russell can't front a flex on that fight. And that's when I really started peeping Lomachenko, just personally. Like, okay, Salido beat you, yeah. He weight cheated, and his tactics were something you're not accustomed to. But then his next fight, like, you're fighting Gary fucking Russell next? And then he beat him convincingly. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, he's who they thought he was. By his seventh fight, 2-division world champion. And by his last fight against Jorge Linares, a 3-weight champion. Like, you can't front on what he's done, man. You can maybe not like the method or the promoter or whatever. I'm not going to get into that. When I talk about fighters, I try to just speak of their abilities in the ring. That's what I try to do. I probably won't always adhere to that, but that's the goal. And he's facing Lomachenko. He's facing Pedraza, man, a 2008 Puerto Rican Olympian who's not a tall lightweight by any stretch, but he's taller than Lomachenko. He's got respectable jab. He's ballsy. He's got good hand speed. He punches in combinations. Like, this is not going to be a gimme at all for Vasyl Lomachenko, particularly because he's coming off of an injury to a shoulder. So you can't throw a single punch without your shoulder being impacted. That's not how it works in boxing. That's just not how it works. But yeah, man, so after Pedraza beat Ray Beltran, the tough, gritty Ray Beltran, that became his second title in as many weight classes. Pedraza, many have maybe forgotten or just don't realize, he was also the IBF champion at 130. And he was knocked out in the 7th round by Gervonta Tank Davis. But that fight was a lot more competitive when you actually watch it than it looks if you just box wrecking it or if you just looking at some stat site or a highlight reel or something. Yeah, Tank knocked him out, but Tank had to put hands on him. I dare say it was Tank's toughest fight to date. And that he landed more hard, crisp, clean punches on Pedraza than he had any other fighter he's fought. Most guys he hits, 1 round, 2 rounds with them same shots, they're done. Pedraza was taking them, giving them back, backing Tank up, making Tank have to regroup. Like, it certainly was not an easy win. Obviously, with the two names involved, Tank Davis, Vasyl Lomachenko, and Jose Pedraza having history with both, there's going to be comparisons. They will ensue. And even with Lomachenko's superior skill set, I mean, he's going to be 31. Tank's going to be, 23, 24, his next birthday? Just based on age alone, there's no comparison. There just isn't. But having said that, I would say Tank hits harder than Lomachenko, punch for punch. Loma's more precise, more accurate. He can hit you with more shots in rapidity. Wah, 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 wah. But Tank Davis's shots, they have more of that thudding impact. They sound heavier, and I see consistently. I see more of an effect on the guys that Tank hits versus the guys that Lomachenko hits. I say all that to say this: Lomachenko's going to put hands on Pedraza, but he's not going to hurt him or deter him to the degree that Tank did. And again, this man went 7 tough, hard rounds with Tank. Lomachenko will win, but bottom line, Jose Pedraza will acquit himself well. He'll put forth a very good effort, I guarantee you. On the undercard, we got my man Teofimo Lopez making his return. I believe he broke his hand in his last fight against William Silva. He'll be facing Mason Menard. Now, Mr. Menard, 2 fights ago, he lost to Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a person who Lopez has never shied away from comparing himself to. I dedicated an entire podcast to Teofimo Lopez's last fight against Mr. Silva. Please check it out if you will. I was very impressed, very entertained, and I highly, highly look forward to seeing his next fight. Before we move on to my final point, subscribe, like, comment, y'all. Subscribe, like, comment. Getting more comments lately, liking it. Let's keep it up. Donald Curry inducted into the IBHOF, the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Yes, that Donald Curry. For those that don't know, his reported amateur record was 400 wins and 4 losses. 404. 400 wins, 4 losses. And he said he thought I talked to him before, he said he thought he won maybe 200 straight. Them last losses, they weren't like consecutive or anything. He was slated to be a 1980 U.S. Olympian. And unfortunately, those Olympics were in Moscow, Russia, I believe. And given the political climate of that day, the U.S. boycotted. So put that in perspective. You've trained your whole life to become this or that. And through no fault of your own, political things that you probably aren't even privy to or know about, all of a sudden you or whatever basketball player or whatever gymnast or whatever other athlete who's dedicated their lives to becoming an Olympian, if you were slated to be in the 1980 Olympics for the U.S., even though you made it, you weren't able to take part. Donald Curry, in the time that I spoke with him, this was a theme to him, just how much was lost, how much luster, how much more he could have made, how much higher his platform could have been, just had he competed in the Olympics, just competed. Though he was touted to win a gold medal and become the darling of the team, which he pretty much did, it was a situation like, just let me fight, man. If I could have just had one fight, been over there on TV in the Olympics wearing the USA jersey, who knows how different life could have been. But what he did was Hall of Fame worthy. Funky Town's finest. To this day, man, everybody in Fort Worth, anybody in Fort Worth who has a dalliance or somehow dabbles with boxing, they have a Donald Curry story. And I love that. That's part of why I love going over to Fort Worth, just hearing the Donald Curry stories. Undisputed champ at 147. He was 25-0, 19 KOs before his first loss, if I'm not mistaken. And actually won, when he first won the title, it was 15-0. So that's like 10 defenses he made before he finally lost. Speaking of the loss, at the time, so he was struggling to make weight. He was number 2 in the world pound for pound. Marvin Hagler was number 1 in the world pound for pound. Curry reached out to Sugar Ray Leonard, who was like, hey, man, talk to my advisor, Mike Trainer. He'll steer you in the right direction. Curry did that. He was advised to stay at 147, the weight he was struggling to make, and fight this no-name dude from England named Lloyd Honeyghan, who ended up stopping Curry. Curry was weight drained. He had been doing it for several fights to that point, and it just caught up with him. And with some guys, you have an amateur record of 400 wins and 4 losses, and you're undefeated as a pro. Once you get that first taste of defeat or humility, some guys never recover, man. They just never recover. And in Curry's case, he never fully recovered. He did go on to win a WBC title at 154. But he was never quite the same as he was. But that should not detract from what he was. Again, 10 consecutive defenses at 47. Like, he ran that division. In the post-Sugar Ray Leonard welterweight era, it was all about Donald Curry. And because of that, when Sugar Ray Leonard was retired, he wouldn't come back and face Curry. He instead manipulated a situation where Curry could get beat, lose his luster, and then Sugar Ray could swoop in like a thief in the night and beat Marvin Hagler. So, without y'all even knowing, Donald Curry is a big part of how history has played out in the sport of boxing that we love. Just letting y'all know. Shout out Donald Curry, well-deserved and long overdue Hall of Fame induction, brother. Anyway, subscribe, like, comment, y'all. From the home of the 3-piece combos, Pugilism Company. This is Reed, BBS. Black Birch Sugar, Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.